In today's video, we're going to be telling you why the Ford EcoSport and Fiesta are relatively similar. We're going to start off with horsepower, then move on to torque, pricing, ground clearance, so on and so on. So we're going to go ahead and start off with horsepower with the Ford EcoSport. The Ford EcoSport puts out around 123 to 166 horsepower, depending on what engine you get. That's pretty decent for a subcompact hatchback, but not for a subcompact SUV, because now we're moving on to Jeep Renegade and Chevy Trax kind of, area there. Hyundai Kona even. It's not that good. So it gets 123 to 166, just like I said. The Fiesta gets 120 to 197. So the Fiesta gets less at the base, just 3 less, and 197 when you get up to the highest you can get, while the EcoSport only gets 166 at the highest. That is not the best, because when your SUV has 3 more horsepower than a subcompact hatchback, it's not that powerful. It really isn't. The Fiesta, at its peak horsepower, can have 21 more horsepower than the EcoSport will ever have, unless you swap engines or whatever, but that costs thousands upon thousands of dollars to do, and no one really wants to do that to their EcoSport anyway. Next up, we move to torque, and the EcoSport just puts out a paltry 125 to 149 pound-feet of torque. Not that impressive, but a lawnmower has more than that. And the Fiesta puts out 112 to 202. Pretty decent for a subcompact hatchback. So you can see, again, at base, the Fiesta has less than the EcoSport, but when you move up to 202, that's 53 more pound-feet that the Fiesta has over the EcoSport, because it only has 149, again, over 202. So that means, theoretically, the Fiesta would be able to tow more than the EcoSport. That is not very good. But anyway, now we move on to pricing. The EcoSport is price base. We're not doing base and then XL and then titanium or whatever. This is just the base price. $19,995 for the EcoSport and $14,260 for the Fiesta. Those are modest prices. I mean, you can get a fairly decent certified pre-owned car for that, but why not buy a new car? So yeah, I mean, you can pay just about, you're going to be paying $21,22 with taxes and shipping and everything you have to pay. Maybe you want options, so that could be like $24,000, which is probably what people are going to pay for the EcoSport, $24,000. While the Fiesta 14 base, maybe like 16, 17, maybe 18 when you get everything you want. It's not going to be that bad. Especially considering that the ST, which is what you're going to get if you want the 197 horsepower and a 202 pound-feet, will start at around $22,500. So that's pretty good. Next up, we move to ground clearance, and this one is quite interesting. The Ford EcoSport gets 7.8 inches of ground clearance, while the Fiesta gets 6.1 inches. That is interesting, to say the least, because the EcoSport, again, is an SUV. The Fiesta is a subcompact hatchback, and 6.1 inches is decent for a subcompact hatchback, but 7.8 inches, that's almost 8 inches. You can clear stuff, but when you want an SUV, you want like 8 or maybe even 9, 8.5, 9 inches of ground clearance, like in a RAV or whatever like that. And so those are pretty okay numbers, but we can do better on them. Next up is cargo space, starting with the EcoSport as usual. 20.9 with the seats in their regular position, and 50 if you fold the seats. While the Fiesta gets 12.8 if you don't fold the seats, and 25.4 if you fold the seats. So this is where the EcoSport really has its pros over the Fiesta, as it can get just about double the cargo area if you fold the seats. Now, that's not all that impressive, considering that the Fiesta is a subcompact hatchback. But if you compare the cargo space to like something like a Mitsubishi Mirage, the EcoSport is just almost the same. It's just the same as a subcompact, a rather large subcompact hatchback, but still a subcompact hatchback because the Mirage gets 47. You compare 47 to 50, and the price of the Mirage, it does seem better just to get the Mirage overall, but we're not comparing the Mirage today. And so, yeah, 50 for the EcoSport at most, and only 25.4 for the Fiesta at most, but still pretty decent numbers. 50 really isn't that bad. Next up, we move to width, and that's just how wide the car is. The EcoSport is 69.5 inches. This is kind of interesting. The width of the Fiesta is 67.8 inches. Yes, 67.8 inches. So the Fiesta isn't even 2 inches narrower than the EcoSport. That's how small the EcoSport is. Very tiny. Now, this one is also kind of interesting. Length. That's just how long it is from the one side of the car to the other. It's just how long it is. And 161.3 for the EcoSport. 159.7 to 160.1 inches for the Fiesta. And I say it like that because that's pretty much an inch or inch and a half difference between the Fiesta and EcoSport. The EcoSport is just an inch longer than the Fiesta. Again, a subcompact hatchback. That is not what you'd want in any car. You know, it's okay, again, if we're comparing subcompact hatchback to subcompact hatchback, but we're comparing subcompact to SUV to subcompact hatchback, and that's where things get a little iffy. So next we move on to the engine, which is what we've all been waiting for. If you buy the base engine in the EcoSport, you get a 1 liter 3-cylinder. 1 liter 3-cylinder. You get a larger engine in a Mitsubishi Mirage, a 1.2 liter 3-cylinder, I believe. But still, it's larger than the EcoSport. But if you option it all the way up, you can get a 2 liter 4-cylinder, which is what you get in a Honda Civic, but you know, you can still get it. Now for the Fiesta, 1.6 liter 4-cylinder, which is okay, it's a subcompact hatchback. I'm not expecting a 2.8 liter V6 or 3.8 or whatever. So 4-cylinder is fine for this kind of car, but for an SUV, the fact that you could still get 3 cylinders in an SUV is almost it's just not heard of anymore. Like, why would you even do that? Now, it might not be able to hold a V6, so that's fine, but maybe do a 1.8 liter V6 and then or 4-cylinder, I mean, and then go up to like a 2.3 liter 4-cylinder or whatever, I don't know. But no, they give you a 1 liter 3-cylinder. And so most people are gonna want the 4-cylinder because more power. It really isn't all that powerful, but a 3-cylinder, really. The Fiesta, like I said, gets a 1.6 liter 4-cylinder, which is still pretty decent, but I mean, you can do better than 3 cylinders. I mean, come on. And because of that tiny engine, what do you think the fuel economy is? 45 city, 52 highway, or some high number like that? No, it's 27 city, 29 highway. I'm serious. That's what you get in the EcoSport. The MPG of the EcoSport is 27 city, 29 highway. It's almost laughably inept. Compare that to the Fiesta. You get 27 cities, so same as the Fiesta. Even though you get a smaller engine than the Fiesta, we'll get to that in a minute. 37 highway for the Fiesta. So that's 8 miles more on the highway than you can get on the EcoSport. Now, I can maybe understand if you get like 32 city, 38 highway. I can maybe understand that because that small little engine is having to pull so much weight that it's burning more fuel. But I mean, come on now. They should make a diesel if they haven't already. Because this isn't even, you can probably get this in a V6, a fairly small V6, but you could still get this gas mileage in the V6. And the only reason I'm so lenient on the Fiesta is just because of it's a subcompact hatchback. It's not an SUV. So we've gone over the reasons on why the EcoSport and the Fiesta are relatively similar. I'm sorry if you own an EcoSport because I wasn't relatively nice to it in this video. But if you would like, I might make a video on why the Chevrolet Spark is the same as the Chevrolet Trax if you guys like this video. So I hope you guys enjoy it, and I will see you in the next video.